Meet Tord, Loki and Nesta, 3 orphaned red squirrels that we rescued from a barn. After a chaotic rescue and overcoming severe dehydration, their rehabilitation has begun. They were already too big for their box, so it was time for some freedom and to create the perfect outdoor enclosure. Welcome to another installment in their journey back to the wild. We've now had the squirrels for over a week, and I realised I haven't really given an update on them. Generally, they're doing really well, they're eating solid food, they're drinking milk well. The only issue is they're absolutely terrified of us, and that has been a bit of a challenge. Rue was obviously very friendly. She liked to be tickled, she liked to be played with, she liked to be stroked, she liked to live in my hoodie, and these squirrels don't want us to be anywhere near them. We've had them in our guest room where we can sort of contain them, because if they were to run freely, they would just try to escape. It would just not be very safe for them. And I sometimes add a stick so that they can leave their box on their own accord, so they can be walking around freely in the guest room, and I sit in the corner and sort of monitor them. But the female doesn't leave at all when I'm there. She is very, very nervous. Curiously, the friendliest of the squirrels is the male that Tord actually brought first, and maybe he was in the most desperate condition, and that made him more inclined to seek human help. And so when I show him the syringe, he almost always grabs it and always drinks a lot. And the others are a bit more hesitant when they see my hand. Also, that's another thing that I do differently, is I actually syringe feed them in the box, and I don't actually grab them and put them in my lap, which I was doing at the start, and I can see them much more calm. At the start, when I would pick up the female, she was so stressed and panicked. I could see like her heart beating out of her chest, and feeding her in the box is a much more relaxing experience for her and, well, for all of them, and they're more happy to just not be handled, which is fine. There's a bit more of an urgency to get them ready so that they can go outside. The important thing is that they're healthy, they're drinking milk, they're eating well. Hopefully, because they are more wild, this will help them for their release to the wild, and maybe they can stay together and help each other, but we're a few weeks away from that. Today I went to feed the baby squirrels, and they just looked really sad and depressed. The female sort of panicked today when she was free. It basically led me to having to put them all into the box, and the males couldn't run around. I can trust the males. She is a wild animal and she really needs to be outside. So there's a bit of urgency to finish the features we're going to add to Rue's cage. We're going to add more shelves, branches, a feeding station, a box for them to sleep in, and camo netting on the outside, so they're not really going to have any interaction with people other than when I go in to feed them. Ideally, I'd want to feed them milk for a few more days. They want to go outside so much that it will be better for them and their well-being to be outside. They're eating well, they're drinking water, so I think they'll be fine. So we're going to get busy. Then they have a route here as well. This means they'll use this tree. I was thinking more hiding places would be nice, and I think they're gonna love that. Summer in Sweden. but this is so it attaches to the tree better. Oh, come on, it's fine. We'll just pick a nice side. And whilst we were busy outside, the baby squirrels were also busy. The baby squirrels spent an hour or so exploring the room under my supervision, and the rest of the day they played in their box. A couple of weeks ago, 2 trees had to be cut down. There was a risk that they could fall on some community buildings. It's a bit sad because actually one of the front covers of my red squirrel calendar was taken in one of those trees, and it's probably one of my favourite photos ever. So I was a bit gutted that they had to cut the tree. However, there is a good thing. All of the branches are still on the ground. I can use them for the enclosure. This would definitely make the squirrels feel more comfortable. I got a lot. Let's go. Some branches are absolutely perfect because they've got pine cones attached to them, and this will be great because the baby squirrels can learn how to handle them and how to take them off the branch. So I'm going to try and find some more like this. I just wanted to let you know that I've made an almost 30% discount on the remaining stock of my calendars, and this video is kindly sponsored by Squarespace. Squarespace is the ideal platform for hosting a professional website. Whether you're a photographer, an online shop owner, or a blogger, Squarespace offers powerful tools that make building and managing your site effortless. I recently launched a new photo tour on my Squarespace website, 8 incredible days in Zambia, and we will just have a magical experience with lots of wildlife. I'm really happy with the web page, and Squarespace made it easy. If you'd like to try Squarespace, head to squarespace.com/daniconnorwild and you can save 10% off a new purchase of a website or a domain. This is the squirrel box that we've been building for 2 months now, and it's been a project in the making for over a year, maybe a year and a half, and it's just taken a lot of problem solving, and we've had other projects or travels that have stopped it being finished. But I thought, as we have 3 baby squirrels that need somewhere to sleep, they can be the first users of the box. So my plan now is to use natural lichen that I've collected, and I'm going to put it as their bedding. I've actually got a felting needle, so I'm going to stab the lichen and I'm going to make a really nice bed. There is plenty of lichen in this enclosure if they want to add more, and they can actually practice collecting lichen and making a better dray. We had worked 10 hours into the midsummer light, but the squirrels were already fast asleep. So it is 7:30. I've been awake for 2.5 hours already because the squirrels woke me up. They're so ready to go outside. They were jumping in their box and I gave them some milk. They drank well. I'm hoping in about an hour they can go in the cage. There's only a few last minute things that we need to do. I'm really pleased with what we've made. We ended up working for 11 hours yesterday trying to create this really amazing enclosure that feels safe and has lots of different routes for them to run around. It looks really good. Welcome to the new design of the squirrel enclosure. This is the enclosure we built last year for Rue, and I learnt a lot about how Rue used the enclosure, and we've added a lot of new features for these new baby squirrels. Okay, we'll begin with this squirrel box. We thought we'd test it with the baby squirrels and then we can actually take it into the wild and see how the wild squirrels do with it. So this central tree was in Rue's enclosure. This time we've added, I think there's like 9 or 10 branches, and all of these branches connect to the rest of the enclosure, so the squirrels can run around. And also the main important thing is that it actually utilizes all the different levels in this space, because before Rue would pretty much just use the fence and she would run around the fence, she would use the floor, but now they can run pretty much anywhere. And then the branches connect to shelves, and there are basically shelves around the entire enclosure, and there are different heights. I think they're going to use the highest shelf the most. I noticed Rue just wanted to be high, so we've actually got a shelf that goes around almost the entire enclosure. So I'm hoping that means that they're not actually going to run too much on the actual fence. This is the feeding platform. And in Rue's enclosure, we actually just put the food on top of her box, which worked okay, but it meant that she wasn't really using the space much because she would just leave her box and basically go upstairs to eat. So now they actually have to come out of their dray box and then they have to come here, and there are many routes for them to come here. And their buffet. I've noticed these squirrels really like to eat sweet potatoes, and I think that's all. I've tried to incorporate lots of natural elements into this enclosure, so there's lots of lichen, there's lots of pine cones that they can take off branches and learn how to handle. So I really hope they like it, and the next step is basically bringing the squirrels here. We brought the squirrels to the enclosure. Tord first, and then Nesta and Loki together. In the next episode, the baby squirrels move into the soft release enclosure. But they don't stay long, as the wild was calling for them. However, one squirrel soon goes missing, and what happens next is completely unexpected.